Mater Dei Academy is a classical Catholic secondary school. We're the first classical secondary school in Ireland that is completely Catholic.
This is really an inspiration from the Holy Spirit to be able to provide an education to all families, irrespective of their means, their income.
The idea behind founding Mater Dei Education was to give people who would love to give their children this classical Irish education that cannot move to Cork.
We're really focused on educating the whole person, like body, mind, and soul.
Education takes a generation to bear fruit. We need to be patient. We need to understand that what we're doing is essentially sowing the seeds for the revitalization of faith. So Grace and I met 18 years ago. We were married 16 years ago, and we're expecting our 9th child now. As a Catholic couple, education is very much a key question, and we moved back to Ireland from the United States in 2010. We put our children into public education and experienced, I suppose, a lot of disappointment with that. It was very difficult to come to the realization that the Catholic education that was being provided in this country was not sufficient to form our children in the faith in the way that we would have wanted them to be formed. And that led to discussions with other parents who shared our views. The changes that happened in Ireland throughout the last number of years, particularly the constitutional changes, have had a huge impact on the ability of the education system to support a Catholic ethos, and that has also been a factor in the decision of us and other parents like us to found Mater Dei Academy.
Mater Dei Academy is a classical Catholic secondary school for boys and girls. We're the first classical secondary school in Ireland that is completely Catholic also. Each child is a child of God, and they should be educated to come to know and love God, and their studies should be about learning to love learning. Their studies should also lead them to the contemplation of God, of truth, to seek truth and to contemplate beauty. That's really, in a nutshell, what a classical education is all about.
All the people who were on the panel, at the beginning we were discussing the curriculum, etc. We all agreed that the school had to be dedicated to Our Lady. So it was just a question of, which title we were going to use. And we decided to use the title Mother of God, Mater Dei.
So the Academy opened in 2020 with 12 students, and since then it has grown to almost 50 students. It has outgrown its original premises in the Dominican Centre in Cork and is now housed in the Farran Ferris Education and Training Campus, which is the former diocesan minor seminary in the Diocese of Cork and Ross. The Irish government essentially provided Catholic education for most people, and it was a certain expectation that Irish Catholics had that education would be free. So that was one thing that we found was always going to be a challenge in providing an education which takes no support whatsoever from government in providing for the needs of the children. So what we have done, and I do believe that this is really an inspiration from the Holy Spirit, to be able to provide an education to all families, irrespective of their means, their income. We have sought support from donors and benefactors.
So there is a strong emphasis on the humanities, on learning to read well, to think well, to speak well, to write well. They learn the English language properly also. That's another thing about a classical education. We put strong emphasis on grammar in first year, and they also begin Latin in first year. So between those two, that really sets them up for a logical way of thinking and ordering their thoughts.
It's a totally different model of education, and it's looking at forming the whole person. It's looking at making our students into good people who are inquiring after the truth, rather than just forming students to take tests and to learn answers. We're really focused on forming the mind and teaching the students how to think critically so that they can go out into the world. And maybe we haven't taught them every single fact that there is to learn in the world, but they can evaluate any situation that comes up and know what the truth is and what the good is.
It's offering a different curriculum to what you might call the mainstream public schools in Ireland. It's not, so we say, as utilitarian in the approach as they are. Even many Catholic schools, the Catholic faith is being diluted because increasingly schools have very little control over who they let in. The difference in this school is that the children aren't going to it just because it's the nearest school. They're going to it because, and the parents send them to it because they believe in the ethos of the school. So the parents and children are choosing this school, and for the right reason, not one of convenience. It's because they expect a Catholic education and they value the curriculum that they see offered here, which isn't purely utilitarian. They do things which are not going to immediately prepare you for a job, but do prepare you in a broader sense for entering a world which poses increasingly difficult questions in many different areas, where you have to use sort of moral values and make moral judgments in areas where you might have been challenged in that way previously.
The Catholic education here in Mater Dei is really that everything comes from God. So everything is part of knowing the truth that God is, and we can see it and experience it in our everyday, starting from prayer in the morning and Mass at least 3 times a week, and prayer in the afternoon. So God is the center, and that's the most important thing.
We're really focused on educating the whole person, body, mind, and soul. So we don't want any single part of the whole human person to be neglected. We want our students to do well on tests. We want them to be well educated and to be able to go into the world and have jobs. But our primary focus is on their souls and on their development as human beings.
here in Mater Dei. The children are involved in many different activities, from singing to Socratic seminars, so we have debates and we talk about different topics. And I really like the fact that they are allowed, in Italy for example, we don't have music classes at all after a certain age. Here they can express themselves in that sense, playing instruments and singing in a choir, and it's beautiful to hear and to experience that during the prayer, the morning prayer, during Mass and during afternoon prayer. This choir of voices all praising and praying the Lord. It is really beautiful.
It's very important that we connect with our heritage, so these children are being taught the greatness of the Irish language, that we had wonderful classical poetry, we had everything that they can find in the likes of Shakespeare, and we have the equivalent in Irish, and to be proud of it. We want them to speak it well, to write it well, and all of that too. But I think it's very important that they make a connection with the language and their heritage in the Irish place names, also with their faith. The Irish language is full of expressions about our religion. They would say things like Barriera and Ubber, God bless the work. I remember even growing up, the older people would often say that because they would remember it from being taught that, Diluted is the Irish for hello. You can't say hello without saying God be with you. So we make it an authentic Irish education, the language, the history, so they learn about we're the island of saints and scholars, St. Patrick, and how we evangelised Europe in many ways. So the great manuscripts, the Irish monks were writing and illustrating beautiful manuscripts, so that's a really important part of our curriculum here, in the artwork as well. We take them on field trips to the museum so that they can see the beauty of the Irish religious art in particular, and religious artefacts.
I came to this school in 2020 as part of the first 12 students. It was very personal. You knew everyone, the teachers knew you. You had a very one-on-one experience with the teachers as well, and it was more kind of like, it didn't feel as much like a school, it felt more like a group of friends you see every day and you learn with them.
The main reason I joined Mater Dei was I had a good few friends who had, they had the faith and they were practicing Catholics at the start of primary school, but through the years of being mixed between practicing and non-practicing, they started to lose their faith, and I was sort of losing mine as well. So then when I heard that there was a chance to go to a school where I'd grow in faith, I decided to take it.
The faith life is definitely a good aspect because it helps my faith grow as well as the people around me, because if I make a point of bringing God in conversations and stuff, it'll become more natural in conversations and everything. And even in Kildare and things like that, we'd mostly travel. We'd travel a good bit to go to Latin masses and things like that. So it's definitely important to me and my family. So it was a good, it definitely helped when choosing the school that it was an actual Catholic education and Catholic school, rather than just they say it's Catholic and it's actually not. Because that's what happened in my primary school. We were supposed to be a Catholic school, but we weren't at all.
So, to be quite honest, at first when I came into the school, because I was so unused to praying so often, I thought it was the most boring thing on earth, and I really didn't like it. But as I've kind of gotten more used to it, and because we're talking about it in the subjects in the school a lot, I've appreciated the kind of importance of the prayer. And now, rather than thinking about how boring it is while I'm singing it, it's more I step into it and it becomes not quite fun, but natural, if you get what I mean.
I've a lot of friends here, but I also have friends outside of the school, and the chance that this school gives me is to be a witness to my faith, to have the courage which I know I wouldn't have, to have the courage to be able to say, this is what I believe in. And the friendship and we go often. There's kind of school tours and so on, and like we were in Kerry for the Gaeltacht, and this was a chance just to see our roots, to speak Irish, which I really found helped me.
The other school I went to was very open to new ideas, very tolerant towards everything the world was pushing into education, including very difficult matters and, in my opinion, the wronging of young children and teenagers such as ourselves. So I supposed it would be easier for me to leave such an environment and join a Catholic environment where the faith was in the center hold and where we got to pray and we weren't pushed aside because of our views and our faith.
So the idea behind founding Mater Dei Education was to give people who, would love to give their children this classical Irish education, but for one reason or another, they cannot move to Cork. So we wanted for them to be able to benefit from this classical Irish education wherever they are in Ireland.
Mater Dei Home Education offers parents a Catholic classical curriculum in which their children can learn in the context of their Irishness, in the context of their heritage, and the interconnectedness of the classical curriculum connects all the Irish history, geography, or Irish Catholic faith, connects them all together in the way a classical curriculum does. So it really ticks all the boxes, because it's an opportunity for parents to provide the best education that they want to provide for their children in their home. And it's great that they have this option now in Ireland. Each child has a personalised programme that's tailored particularly for them based on their strengths and needs that the parents communicate to us. And this can be adjusted then during the year if it's not suited. So it means that a child might be on a higher level of English to the level of Irish that they're doing, or a higher level of maths to the level of English that they're doing, but it's tailored specifically for each child, so they can progress at their own level, at their own pace, and achieve to the best of their ability.
I know that Padraig and Grace are aware of this as well, in Mater Dei Education, that has the primary school homeschooling cooperative. They're very aware of this, and so there are plans now, please God, for 2024 to begin a homeschooling network for secondary, so that we would have a homeschooling possibility as well for families who wanted to do the Catholic secondary but are too far away. Possibly even in the future we might think about a kind of a hybrid model where maybe a child might commute a couple of days a week and then homeschool for the other days of the week. So we're open to all those possibilities, but there is definitely a demand beyond commuting distance from Cork. So I'll be delighted, please God, that the homeschooling facility will be there from 2024, please God, for Mater Dei Academy Secondary. So that's a great blessing.
I think there's a real danger in our modern society that people concede too much. Even in other schools who would say, which would have a Catholic ethos, shall we say, when you get into a large school, that gets quite diluted, and it's quite difficult for, even with the best will in the world, for a family to hold that line in what their kids are being taught in school and with their education. So those practices can become weakened, and I think that's one of the real benefits here, as I said, not just to our daughter, but also to the whole family.
Classical education is very important to us because it allows our children to critically think for themselves, which currently isn't as popular maybe in mainstream education. So myself and their dad think that's a huge benefit for the kids and for who those children will come in contact with in their daily lives. and in the future.
Born and raised in the house of the Lord, flags hung high from every wall, in church on Sunday and most Wednesdays.
Classical homeschooling really has a number of benefits. Firstly, it's founded on truth. And at this stage, our children, as they're 12 and younger, it's really all about absorbing, memorising and becoming very grounded in facts. So that's one of the big benefits. And then secondly, because they're at home, we really have so much more time with them to help them grow in the virtues.
I think our faith has definitely grown as a family. Sarah gets the opportunity to bring the children to Mass every day, which is something that we wouldn't have done before. Like, we definitely are saying prayers as a family more together as well. And, our focus is, we've always believed in God, but our focus is even more on God now, which I think is extremely important.
Oh, to mean my holy, just a boy in Jesus.
This is just 4 years into a project which is going to take a lifetime to bear fruits, and I think one of the things that we need to always keep in mind is, the Lord's time is not necessarily our time. We live in a society that is always looking for results instantaneously. Education takes a generation to bear fruit. And we need to be patient. We need to understand that what we're doing is essentially sowing the seeds for the revitalization of faith in Ireland, in Europe, throughout the Christian world. And the fundamental requirement for that is that faith is passed to the next generation. Education is not simply a nice sort of social outreach program of the Catholic Church. The Catholic understanding of education is that it is absolutely fundamental to the mission of the Church. This is not an option. We're required as Catholics to provide for the formation in faith and in practical ways for our young people. Patience is really key in understanding that this mission has a view way into the future, and perhaps many of us will never see the fruits of the mission, but yet the seeds will be sown.
I'll never know for all my needs, but now I mean my holy, God, I thank you for. Now I know a greater measure of your grace. I'm learning to walk with you is dying daily. Just a boy